On today's show, we explore the grand tradition of waterfowling in Minnesota on one of its most famous waterfowl lakes with the perfect name, Swan Lake. And later, expanding the world of hunting to include those who have disadvantages but do not lack the will to go a hunt.
We're making stuffed pheasant for us today.
Laura Shera goes wild in the kitchen with the ideal recipe for the autumn season. Ought to be good eating. Our Minnesota Bound Classic this week remembers an autumn visit to one of our favorite destinations, Ely, Minnesota in the fall, as the leaves do the same. Those stories and more next.
Minnesota Bound. Brought to you by Minnesota's select GMC dealers.
Hi everybody, Raven and I welcome you to the show. You know, for more than a century, Minnesota has been the mecca of duck hunting in North America, and that tradition continues at a place called Swan Lake. Travis Frank has the story.
Perched above a sea of cattails, Tom Garrett's, Dan Garrett's, and Craig Panning game plan for a morning hunt. From their duck shack overlooking Nicollet, Minnesota Swan Lake, a duck hunting lifestyle consumes them. Back in 1991, they built a cabin here on a peninsula called Compart's Landing. It was that day that they became part of Minnesota's richest duck camp. If Minnesota has a duck dynasty, this is it.
Well, we call her the Duck Shack.
To their left sits the pin-tailed palace. Then there's the Swan Dive, and of course, the Quack Shack. This small village holds 20 of Swan Lake's 200 duck shacks, each one cleverly built with their favorite fowl in mind.
It is kind of the logo of everything, since it is a duck hunting, slough hunting area. Yeah, everything's geared for duck hunting. Everybody has their own outhouse out here, and they're all different, just like the shacks are. Some are pretty, some are not.
So look at that toilet paper holder.
We own the shack. We rent the land, technically, from the farmer. We pay the taxes, and we pay him rent, too, to be able to come out here and enjoy it.
Spanning more than 10,000 acres, Swan Lake claims the title as America's largest prairie pothole, at one point holding more migrating ducks than perhaps anywhere in North America.
The early days, they used to market hunt out here. They'd shoot 1,000 ducks a day and ship them to the East Coast, and at that time, a big market. But when they started draining the ponds and sloughs throughout Minnesota, the flyway shifted to the Dakotas. So the type of duck hunting they have here now is not like the 40s and 50s, 60s.
Today, the duck numbers have dwindled, but the duck hunting passion remains.
I always say each fall is kind of like a family reunion. A lot of the folks out here are only out in fall for the hunting time.
And the view speaks for itself. As a golden sunset fades to black, campfire stories are told and anticipation builds for the morning hunt. Then, in morning darkness, we set out.
We have a bag full of decoys. Mostly mallards, a few redheads.
Cutting through the maze of cattails, we find our spot and place our spread.
We'll see what happens, huh, Craig? We'll give it the old college try. That was a coot. A coot is a bird that a lot of people will never even try eating, but we've shot a few and had them for hors d'oeuvres, and they taste the same as regular duck. So otherwise, it's just.
A real duck. Oh, shoot! My reflexes are a little slow.
We forgot to let you know that there was a wood duck coming.
Yeah.
As birds crisscross out of range, our luck finally takes a turn.
Yeah. Get him. Now, how did you guys miss that other one? Dan.
Not you guys missed it.
Dan. I didn't even see them come down. Good eyes, Travis.
I'll just clear this all up, guys. I got that one.
Dog.
I think as Dan said last night, what happens at the duck shack stays at the duck shack.
Duck.
We weren't skunked. Success. You know, and maybe it isn't for everyone, but if you love nature and the outdoors and just being out in nature, this is, well, as you can see with the view we have, it's hard to beat.
When we return, helping disadvantaged hunters go afield the easy way.
Minnesota Bound, brought to you by Minnesota Select GMC dealers. Ellsworth Creamery. Rapala Ice Force. And by Borderview Lodge.
You know, one of the great things about the outdoor experience is it's becoming more accessible to more people, including disabled folks who now find themselves out in the field hunting ducks or whatever.
Hey, you ready? Come on this way.
His name is Roger. Last name, Illies. Title, Vietnam vet.
Missed it.
Missed? Missed doesn't count. What counts is Roger is hunting again, and so is Randy Faulkner.
Well, it went pretty good for the pheasants. It didn't go so good for me. But we got a lot more stations and a lot more pheasants.
They were so high, they just fly so high. I think they found out I was a good shot because now they go that way and that way. And somebody must have told them.
What's happening here near Avon, Minnesota is, well, payback. An appreciation payback to 20 disabled veterans who, in this case, once enjoyed hunting and thought they'd never hunt again.
Here we go, right over the top, right over the top. Next station.
Welcome to Sandpine Pheasants. Well, we're doing a European hunt here, and the king would take out his royalty on a pheasant hunt, and they didn't want to walk a lot, so the peasants would release the pheasants out of the middle of the woods. So today we're treating these veterans as kings and royalty. We have 10 shooting stations surrounding our woods, and we have 2 veterans at each of the 10 shooting stations, 20 total. We have a veteran, Lawrence, from World War II. He was a POW for a little over 2 years. A German prison camp, and it's really cool. He's a fun guy to have out here.
But there's another story rolling out here in the field. It's about innovation, invention, and compassion.
This event is pretty special to all of us because there's 2 things that we're really passionate about, and one of them is obviously our veterans. And these guys have gone out and literally risked life and limb for our country. And so what we're doing with the Action Track Chair is trying to get these guys back out there and get these chairs in their hands so that they can go back out and do the things that they did before they were out there. Indeed, the Action Track opens a door to more of the outdoors for disadvantaged people. The benefit of it is that they can traverse over a variety of different terrains that wheels typically will get stuck in. The tracks are fairly aggressive, and it's meant for the off-road. So they do what they're designed to do, and that's to grab a hold and go. You control the chair with the joystick here. Whichever way you move the joystick is the way that the chair is going to go. The nice thing about this chair is it'll actually stand you straight up. Out here it's kind of ideal because then you could shoot in the standing position, you could drive it in the standing position. I tell people the only thing that you can't do on those chairs, or you could do wrong, is not have fun. But the invention of Action Track began in Marshall, Minnesota for a very sad reason.
It really started, I should begin with my son Jeff. In 1998 he had a car accident and became paralyzed. And I was in the motorsports business and trying to figure out how can we help Jeff and others that are in wheelchairs to be able to get outdoors. In 2008, I started bending some metal and doing some fabricating and welding, and we built our first track chair prototype in 2008. And here we are 3 years later selling hundreds of them. So it's been a good Minnesota project.
All right, have fun, guys.
There we go, there we go. Ah, God darn it.
The guys have been great. They're all smiling and they're all having a good time. So I'm glad they could be here and we could be with you guys.
I like this chair.
The best part, right?
Coming up, going wild in the kitchen with Laura Shera.
Closed captioning from Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Radco Truck Accessories.
Time now to go wild in the kitchen, and with pheasant season in the air, what better way to celebrate that than to have a great tasting pheasant dinner? Laura Shera has the details.
One of my favorite hunting seasons is just around the corner, and that is pheasant hunting. And the reason for that is because I love to eat it. So we're getting wild in the kitchen today with Chef Jim Kinberg from Fire Lake Grill House and Cocktail Bar. And Jim, I hear we're making stuffed pheasant breast today?
We are. We've got some great ingredients. We've got some beautiful pheasant. Everybody's favorite. We've got a little smoked bacon. There's going to be some local apples involved and some brie cheese as well. So that'll be stuffed inside. Give it a little pan sear. It'll be delicious.
That sounds delicious. So how do we get started?
First step is going to be breasting out the pheasant.
All right.
Yeah, it takes a little practice, but it is pretty simple. Now that we have our breast removed, there's one more little step we're going to need the knife for.
Okay.
And then we're going to give it a little butterfly so we have a nice little pocket in which to stuff it. So now that we've got it butterflied, what we're going to do is just pound it out, tenderize it just a little bit. Would you like to do the honors?
Of course, this is the best part, right?
You got
just start pounding
Not
away.
too hard. There you go, just like that.
Gentle.
Exactly. Now for the good stuff. We're going to be stuffing with a little brie cheese and a little green apple. So we're going to take the slice down like that, lay that right in the center like so. Use whatever apples you have available as long as they're nice and fresh. And then we're just going to fold that baby over like that.
And that's it?
Here you have a nice stuffed pheasant breast.
So we know everything's better with bacon, and I'm
Yes, it
noticing
is.
that this is in this recipe.
It is. It's here for two reasons. Number one is flavor. Number two, pheasant breast is very lean, tends to dry out pretty quickly. So this is our little insurance policy to keep it nice and moist. And just wrap it up like that. So we want to get the pan nice medium-high heat. You want to hear a little sizzle just like that when it goes in. Just let it sit there for about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. That bacon's going to crisp up, it's going to seal, and then we'll give it a little flip. So yeah, we're going to actually remove this from the pan, put it on a little sizzler, throw this in a 325-degree oven, about 5 to 7 minutes in the oven. All right. You can see that nice crisp bacon. There's a little cheese oozing out of there. Looks and smells delicious, exactly. So we're going to serve this with a little grilled polenta cake. We've got our beet greens we sauteed. We're going to put those right in the center. And then the centerpiece is the pheasant.
Wow.
I ended up making a little stock out of the pheasant bones themselves, and I cooked it down with some roasted apples and some cider. So we have a little reduction of some pheasant apple cider jus. We're just going to kind of roll that on the side there for a nice little wild game gourmet treat.
Thank you, Jim. Once again, it's so simple to do, yet so wildly delicious.
Up next, visiting Ely, Minnesota as summer winds down and the leaves begin to change. No, you don't need a paddle. Stay with us.
Minnesota Bound, brought to you by Connecticut, Totem Resorts, Maui Gym Sunglasses, and by Evinrude, the official outboard motor of Minnesota Bound.
Welcome back. You know, it's time now for our Minnesota Bound Classic, and we're going to take you to a place called Ely, Minnesota. Lots of you have been there, but we tend to think of Ely as a place to go in the summer to paddle a canoe. Well, I tell you what, Ely in the fall is special too. It's known as the town on the edge of America's first wilderness, Ely, Minnesota. A main street filled with canoe rentals to help you paddle off to fish and camp in Minnesota's vast Boundary Waters Canoe Area wilderness. But what happens if you and camping in tents is a pain in the sleeping bag?
Everyone thinks of the Boundary Waters, and they don't realize that just outside of the Boundary Waters, we're sitting here maybe a third of a mile from the Boundary Waters, but yet you still get the cabins. You know, there's full-service cabins everywhere along the edge of the Boundary Waters.
And one of the best times to spend nights in a cabin but days in the wilderness is with the advent of autumn. Autumn in the Boundary Waters wilderness, when bull moose change their habits like the leaves of summer change their color. For an angler, autumn on the outskirts of Ely is a tour of solitude, even on lakes where motorboats are allowed. One of those places is a lake called Basswood.
I think Basswood is certainly a large lake, but it's also one that has a great reputation for fishing. I think around Ely there's a lot of places you can go, but Basswood is one of those places that has a draw. I think the potential is there to catch a really a nice fish.
Sometimes it only takes a day on wilderness water to catch the feel of solitude, alone in the morning fog, alone with wilderness wildlife, alone with biting walleyes. Walleye, an eater too.
Oh, right, that's lunch.
Huh? That's my lunch. There's a wilderness walleye right there. That gold is just gold, isn't it?
Look at there, even a blind squirrel gets an acorn once in a while.
In autumn, a jig and minnow in the wild catches just about anything. Oh, he's got a nice bass. Oh, that's a big bass. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's said time stands still in true wilderness. The aging granite seems timeless, but so does a special tree. This one, living on the shores of Basswood.
Well, this is a cedar tree. I don't know, the rumor has it that this thing is about 2,000 years old. It's they've done some core samples on it.
Old trees and wilderness make you think about things like old stories. Fact is, the first stories to ever reach human ears 1,000,000 years ago were probably told in the boondocks as we sat around a campfire.
And tonight I'm going to be telling you some stories about the animals that live right around here.
Well, stories are still being told on the edge of Ely's boondocks.
Now, a long, long time ago, way back before the ice covered this ground, way back before people walked this land, a long time ago, people say the birds, every single bird, from the smallest little finch to the biggest eagle, every bird was gray.
He's a lot of weight. Truth is, time and fishing stories also have no boundaries. Oh, come on up here, baby. Smallmouth. Ooh, nice fish. Nice fish. Oh, look out. Some of our fishing stories are about big ones. I think I'll just lip him here if I can. While other stories don't always have happy endings in the wilderness. Take it easy. Oh, he got off. Those stories, there he goes, only have lessons about life. How do you like them apples? What are you laughing about? Ely in the fall. Tell you what, Ely in the winter is lots of fun too. Well, that about does it for us. Remember, introduce a kid to the great outdoors, take him to Ely. I'm Ron Scher, of course, always the star of the show. Yeah, she knows it, Raven.
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433. For more information on these stories and more, catch us on the web at mnbound.com. Share your stories on the Minnesota Bound Facebook page under the Share Your Story tab.